Wolves, and she works a little on the Twins set. She's a great analysis. She'll come on here. We'll preview the Timberwolves season. We'll talk about the win on Wednesday night. Learn all you need to know about this year's Timberwolves team, who to look out for, who to watch out for. Going to be an exciting year here for the T-Wolves. Stick with us. And we're joined here by Marney, Gellner, the sideline reporter for the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Minnesota Twins on Fox Sports Minnesota. Steven Strom here from Talk North. Thank you so much for giving me some time today. Marney, how's everything?
Everything is great. Season is underway, trying to get back in the rhythm and all the things that go along with diving head first into a season. But so far, so good.
So far, so good. And out here in New York, obviously, I'm watching the Brooklyn Nets and all the hype around them with Kyrie Irving. I know KD's not playing, but that was a really fun game and a great start on Wednesday night. Just tell me about what's the biggest difference you saw in Wednesday night's game to just even last year. What are some things that stuck out to you in this 127-126 win in overtime?
Oh, wow. You talk about just coming out of a cannon to start the season. There was no easing our way into this new era of Timberwolves basketball. That's kind of how everyone is branded it, because there are so many changes. And if you're asking me to pick something different out of that game, I will tell you it's everything. It's top to bottom. It's personnel, it's people, it's the play, it's oh my gosh, it was a tiny little taste of what we think we're going to see. But everything is different. That and just to be able to start a game or start a season with that kind of game where when the momentum shifts in the third quarter to the home team away from the road team who has all the changes and the young team with the new system, and that's just like the recipe for it. This is where it falls apart. And it was a good half, and dang it, we saw some things. But for the Wolves to counter that, to then stay with Brooklyn after the dip in the third quarter when Brooklyn regained the lead, to have an answer and then to fight until the end and then come away with a win was just incredibly promising to show the resiliency and some of the grit that this team has. And I don't think they're all going to be like that. Of course, nobody's delusional, but to just say like, okay, this is a little taste of it, was like, okay, I can watch this.
Right. It was one of those games where, like last year, those are games that the Timberwolves lose. I mean, I tweeted it after the game. It was like when they show that type of resiliency after, like you touched on, I mean, it's opening night in Brooklyn. There's a lot of expectations there. They come back. They regain the lead. I thought the way that the Wolves responded was one of the more impressive things that I saw that night. But you talk about this new age Timberwolves and the culture change. You know, this Wolves team, they took a team vacation to the Bahamas. They're talking about the culture change. The vibe just seems different. They seem like they're closer than they ever been. Was this more of a GM thing? Was this the players that took initiative? What do you think happened here to kind of switch kind of the vibe here in Minnesota?
I think it started with Ethan Casson, who is the CEO. And I think they just needed an off season to be able to say, like, okay, how do we do this? How do we align everything? But to have Ethan, who is sort of forward thinking and driven and modern and all those, and then coupled with Ryan Tanke, who is the COO, coupled with Ryan Saunders, who is the head coach, like they started, and then Gerson Rosas, who is also in that. They just started handpicking people that shared that same kind of vision. So if the culture starts with Ethan, which is kind of where I think it started, him saying, like, this is the kind of, not just team, but community I want to have, or environment, or just, like, business. Let's say you just treat the Wolves as a business. Like, this is the vibe we want to have around the office. So then they start plopping those people into places in high leadership. Your Gerson Rosas, your Ryan Saunders type, that share the same thing, and then they implement it, and then the next guy implements, and the next gal implements it, and they put people in really influential positions that share the same vision, values, however you want to label it, and they're all implementing them together. And then the thing is, it's so inclusive. And there were times and there were regimes with the Wolves that were exclusive. And now it's the coach is aligned with the front office, who's aligned with the TV broadcast, who's aligned with the radio, who's aligned with sales, who's aligned with... It just runs so much more smoothly when everyone is in it and valued, and like opinions are taken, and we're having meetings, and we're, it's an inclusive culture, which I would think any business just sort of runs better that way when it's like an all for one kind of attitude. And that may sound a little cheesy, but it's hard to do in an NBA team because you have this team and they might not, they're doing their own thing. And how do you get a team and the coach and like this travel schedule, and how do you get the time to say, okay, let's sit down. What is the front office thinking right now? What kind of a strategy should we lay out for our TV partners? Like, there's just not time to do that. And so to have it all connected the way it is right now, that's what's different. That's the culture change. It's significant, too.
Wow, that is great to hear. That is awesome to hear, and it's shown on Wednesday night. We'll see how they do over the course of the season, obviously very early as they play Charlotte tonight. Marney, I'm sure you've gotten this question a lot about Andrew Wiggins and how frustrating he is at times, and he's got every athletic gene in the body to be a great player, and I actually thought he finished the game really strong and actually showed kind of his mentality instead of kind of, shying away. He wasn't shooting the ball particularly well through the first three quarters. But just talk about Andrew Wiggins. Do you still believe in this guy? Can he be the guy that the Wolves think he can be?
Well, let's just take that game in Brooklyn as a microcosm of like where we all hope Andrew goes. So he did shoot a couple of long twos. He didn't shoot well from the field, and he even said so. He was we call it walk-off. It's a TV term, walk-off interview. But still on the court. He hasn't even left to go into the locker room. Andrew Wiggins was the guy that I interviewed.
Yep.
Standing on the court, and I asked him about his mindset because I said you were so good down the stretch, fourth quarter overtime, and you were driving to the basket. And where was your mindset to get you into that mode? And he just said, my outside shot wasn't falling, and the only way I was going to shoot another one was if I was completely wide open. Otherwise, I figured I got to go to the basket. And you would think like the light comes on for those of us who sit back and watch it from the comfort of our living rooms or courtside or wherever we might be. Like, that's so obvious, but it's just been the way he's played for so long that I don't know if it's as obvious to him. But to Andrew's credit, what happened when that shot wasn't falling? He went to the basket. And who made some of the biggest baskets down the stretch?
Yep.
It was Wiggins. And if you'd watched the first half of that game, you would have said, he is not going to factor in. He's not playing the type of system we heard that the Wolves want to play. But he did. He changed it. Now, in Charlotte on Friday night, do you want to see jump shot Andrew? No. But so I don't know if he completely made the shift. He at least made the shift for one game. And he got rewarded for it. He saw production because of it, because of how aggressive he was. He finished, let's see, from the floor, Wiggins, 10 of 27. Now, probably don't want him taking 27 shots, especially he's only going to make 10, but if they're going to be the kind where he is just slicing and spinning and getting to the rim, then you'll take those. So, I mean, it's there. It's obviously there. Whether or not it clicks and he starts to be that aggressive driving, and I mean, he was the one that said it. Hey, I figured it out. My shot wasn't falling, so I went to the rim. Okay, more of that, please. Yeah.
We're here with Marney Gellner of Fox Sports Minnesota. Yeah, I guess the bottom line here is we either need Andrew Wiggins to miss his jump shots, or if they can just play Oklahoma City for 82 games, I think Andrew would be fine. But let's move to the younger guys, right? Josh Okogie, who made the stop at the end of the game. I just think he is just a pit bull defensively. Jared Culver played limited minutes, but I'm expecting a lot from him. How important is the growth of guys like Josh and Jared Culver for this team? Even Naz Reid, who I love, who's from Roselle Catholic, about 30 minutes up the road from me. So how important for those guys to just kind of grow with this team?
I think it'll be huge. And the question that we don't really know yet is to what extent they will grow. I think Okogie grew a ton. Last year, he got so many minutes, played a starting role. The second half of the season, he was logging a lot of minutes that's invaluable. That is to have that court time against those teams and be a regular part of the offense and the defense was huge for Okogie. And he's even said he wants to be one of the best two-way players in the league. So he's not backing down from setting his goals high and making it known. And sometimes that's a hard thing to do, to put that out there, because you can get ridiculed for that stuff pretty hard. Then he comes in off the bench cold in Brooklyn in overtime on the last possession to guard Kyrie Irving and does his job. It was incredible. And when we talked to him afterwards in the locker room, and I asked him about, like, how do you do that? How difficult is that? He was like, nah, I've done it before. And I just kind of, I was just focused on getting the stop. And I'm like, geez, that is not a second-year player. That's a guy that is not veteran, but seasoned a little bit. So I think in a Okogie's world, he has already grown, and there's obviously more to do, but I'm not worried about him. He's got a really good head on his shoulders. He's a hard worker. He's gonna continue. If his shot falls and if he figures out that 3-point shot, and he's gonna be so big on this team. And then for Culver and for Naz Reid, Culver, he's gonna play. He's gonna be possibly the first sub off the bench, certainly in that first handful, and the Wolves are gonna run guys in and out because they are playing a fast pace. I just asked Jarrett Culver, do I say today? When we were in Charlotte, I asked him about playing in Brooklyn, a first game, for real this time. Did you have a moment? Did it strike you at any time? And he was like, no, I was so focused on the game plan and where I was supposed to be in position that it didn't even. And that kind of gives me a good vibe about, like, the moment wasn't too big for him. He was actually locked in on it. So I feel like same thing. He's got a hitch in his shot, and he needs to get that figured out. But you don't need to solve every problem this year in your rookie season. Get a lot of playing time, catch up to the speed of the game. You're going to be okay. And then Naz, the way that he played in Summer League, I think just blew everybody away with how tough he can be. And we'll see once he gets a little more playing time how he adjusts. But I don't think there's anyone saying, I don't think Naz Reid is going to make it at the pro level. I don't think Jarrett Culver is going to. They're going to make it. And to your question, how important is their growth going to be? It's huge, but we don't need them to go from 0 to 1,000 right now. We do need them to grow and improve and be a contributing part of this team for sure.
All right, last one here for you, Marney Gellner. She's with me today on Fox Sports Minnesota. Let's do the last one, Karl Anthony Towns. And funny story, humble brag here for you. I played high school basketball at Old Bridge, and Karl Towns was in my conference. So I got to play Karl Towns 4 times. If you mention, hey, Karl, did you play against Old Bridge? He will say yes, and he will say that we beat him by 60 every time, and that's fine. But I just think it's pretty cool that I played against him, and now he's on my favorite team. So let's talk about Karl really quickly. Say it again?
Did you match up against him?
Well, we played a 3-2 zone. Marney, and I was unfortunately a victim of... let me just tell the story really quickly. So we're in a 3-2 zone. I'm a freshman. I'm sitting in varsity, and I come in, and, I'm looking at Karl for the first time. I know he's going to Kentucky, and I'm like, oh, my God, this guy's 7 foot, and he's literally bringing up the ball for fun. He's playing point guard for fun. And we're in a 3-2 zone, and he kind of shifts to the wing. And I'm guarding, I'm on the block. We're in a 3-2 zone. I took one look over to Wade Baldwin, who I know he had stints with Portland, but he was also on the team. Wade Baldwin has the ball. I hear footsteps behind me. I look over, and I see Karl Towns jump over me, and he throws up an alley-oop from the... it was just unbelievable. He jumps over me and then dunks on one of my teammates, and I said, like you said, does Jarrett Culver have a welcome to the NBA? Well, I had a welcome to I'm playing Karl Towns in high school moment, because he came up and absolutely threw one down against... I wouldn't say he dunked on me, but he jumped over me, and obviously I fell victim here on a poster, which was unfortunate. But let's talk...
Do you have any photographic evidence? Because that would be pretty sweet.
I do, actually. If you go on YouTube, I am on there. You can definitely see it. So Old Bridge versus St. Joe's, it's very cool. But let's just talk about Karl really quickly. The guy's he's just unguardable. I've never